Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our kindergarten through 8th grade General Music PLC here on the Georgia Department of Education community. This is topic 7, and in this topic, we'll be talking about aligning music with other subject areas. Topic 6 was sort of all about aligning music with literacy, and in this topic, we'll be talking about aligning music with social studies, math, and science. So as with our literacy alignment, the first place we're going to start is here on the georgiastandards.org website, and we're going to find the standards for those different subject areas. So since we're in segment 1 and talking about social studies, let's start there. So I can click on the social studies subject area, and I can see this subject area has a document that is all of the standards for K through 12 as well as grade bands. And this will give me individual grade level resources here, but here are the actual standards. So I'm going to open up the K through 5 standards document. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my trusty Control F function. And I'm going to use this to search for a specific concept or maybe historical event that is covered in the standards to see which grade level it's covered in. So for example, I will search for civil rights movement, and I will see that here it happens in 1st grade, and it also happens in 2nd grade, and here it is in 5th grade. And the code is very similar to our music code. This number right here, Social Studies 5, so that's the grade level. I can also search in the K through 12 document, and that will show me where it appears in all grade levels. Or I can go back to that band and search just 6th through 8th, and there are the social studies standards for all of those grade levels. Now, moving forward, when we talk about alignment with other grade levels, with other subject areas, some subject areas have all of their standards in one cohesive document and some don't. So I'll point that out and note where to find the standards if it's not all in one document. Now, of course, all of this is not to say that just because, for example, civil rights pops up in 2nd grade and 1st grade and 5th grade and then also in 8th grade, doesn't mean that those are the only grade levels where you can teach songs about civil rights or where you can mention civil rights or make connections with civil rights. And of course, civil rights in this example is just that. It's just an example. So it's not to say that you can only make alignment with concepts and standards that are specific to a certain grade level, but it is important to know when those happen and which grade level if you want to make a specific connection to the standards that they are learning in that grade level. Another really valuable resource for aligning your music instruction with the standards that the students are learning in their social studies or science or math or whatever subject area classroom is the teachers themselves in your building. Because not only will they be able to tell you the standards and the concepts they're working on, they'll be able to tell you when they're working on them with their instructional calendar, so that you can make sure that your instruction, if you're bringing in a song about a specific concept in social studies, you can find out when they're teaching it and see if you can align it with your instructional calendar. This doesn't always work out, but it's nice to make it work when you can. So let's talk about some different ways that you can bring in music and social studies together. One easy way is to start with holiday songs. This is a big topic and concept in kindergarten social studies, and they learn about holidays throughout the year, not just the December holidays. And it's a good way to bring in holidays from other cultures as well, not just the standard American holidays. And every culture has songs to celebrate their holidays, and it's a nice way to bring in that kind of home connection too, especially if your school is like mine and you have students with a very diverse family background. I like asking them about their holidays, and if they would like to, have them share about their holidays and then kind of teach the song, whatever the holiday may be and whatever time of the year it may be. And again, this is not just for kindergarten, but it is good to know that kindergarten does focus on this concept specifically in their social studies standards. Another way to make the connection with social studies is to discuss patriotic songs. So one thing to note is that fourth grade does a lot of study on the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. Obviously, not all patriotic songs are from those eras, but a lot of them are, so you can make that connection. And it's also a good time to just bring in other holidays as well, such as maybe Veterans Day or other concepts about the United States. With that in mind, another way to make that connection is with American folk songs, and you can make the historical connection with any time period depending on when the folk song that you're working with is from. I have been very careful in my practice lately to kind of really examine the origin of certain folk songs, and I have been cutting a lot of songs from my repertoire because it has turned out that they have had maybe not the best history. So it's a really interesting opportunity for you as a music educator to kind of find maybe some new, maybe lesser known American folk songs. Another great way that this is a good alignment on the music side is that a lot of folk songs are often simpler to teach and to learn, and they often have a very limited range. A lot of them are pentatonic, so it kind of really aligns with our curriculum really nicely. Zoltan Kodály also said that you should teach the folk song of the people to the children of that country. I'm terribly misquoting him, but you get the gist. So this is a really good way to bring in not only music and folk songs, but kind of like to talk about American culture at different points in history. Another way to do that is to bring in historical songs. So maybe there are songs from different points in history that are not necessarily folk songs, but that speak to a specific event going on in history. I have a lot of songs about the Revolutionary War specifically that I do with my fourth graders at the beginning of the year when they're learning about that align nicely with my rhythm unit that I'm teaching at the beginning of the year. So this is not to say, again, that you can't teach historical songs to all grade levels and that you should be teaching historical songs in your class for the purposes of teaching history. It's for the purpose of aligning it to your music practice. So like I said, in this case, I do a lot of rhythm instruction with it, and we just happen to use a song from that point in history. You can also talk about the historical alignment of composers and other musicians. I often show pictures of composers like Franz Joseph Haydn, and the students will notice that he's wearing a white wig, and they say he looks like George Washington, and will make that connection that they were alive at roughly the same time, and that was very much the style of the day, and it wasn't just isolated in one country or one person. It was kind of like a very widely spread fashion, and you can make those connections with other points in history as well. You can also talk about the geographical origins of songs. This goes back to both American folk songs as well as songs from around the world. I often like to put a world map in my PowerPoint, and we'll find the country on the map and talk about the continent that it's on and how far away it might be from where we are in Johns Creek and kind of things like that. And with that in mind, you can also teach and should be teaching folk songs and instruments from other countries. And this is a great way to bring in that standard of songs in a different language, which is throughout all of our standards and our music standards. And students are always interested to learn about instruments from other countries. So whether you have those instruments actually in your classroom to demonstrate and to let the students kind of have that hands-on experience, or if you just find a picture online and insert it into your PowerPoint, it's a great way to bring in that timbre connection as well. You can talk about how the instrument is made and how it's played and what kind of sound it makes. So again, songs in a foreign language is directly in our standards, and this is a great way to make connections with social studies and talking about where that foreign language is from and what kind of people speak that language and if anyone in your building speaks that language. I also like to talk about the historical context of songs and music. So my example at the beginning when I was showing the Georgia Standards of Excellence page was the civil rights movement. So you can bring in specific songs from that. You can bring in spirituals. You can bring in, I've talked about songs from different wars and different historical events. And not only that, but what was going on in the world when Tchaikovsky wrote the 1812 Overture, things like that. And then there's also songs about various social studies concepts. I will always remember the words to the preamble, thanks to a certain television show's song that created a melody out of the preamble to the Constitution. And so there's also raps about the presidents and songs about the states in the United States. So those are great ways to make that connection with social studies as well. So this has been social studies alignment with music. Our next topic will be math alignment with music.